What's going on, everybody? My name is Ira Dub. I'm the founder of Bunk 57 Ministries right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we divert youth from the school to prison pipeline, and we help returning citizens get back on their feet with dignity. And today, I just want to tell you a discipleship story, which starts with me being at Walker State Prison in Georgia and being introduced to this program called Fruit That Won't Spoil. As you can see, this book is written by Roger Erickson, and Roger Erickson actually used to be the director of the CBMC, which is the Christian Businessmen's Connection.
I got started with Fruit That Won't Spoil. I was blessed to meet Roger Erickson fairly shortly after I decided to start walking with Christ. And Roger is just a disciple maker. I recognized something about him, the way he loved so well, Jesus first and then others. And I was drawn to that, and it just made sense. And so I followed Jesus through Roger and Fruit That Won't Spoil.
So, Fruit That Won't Spoil is a discipleship program that teaches the intangibles of one-on-one discipleship, and it's a perfect segue into Operation Timothy, which is provided by CBMC.
I was saved in 1995 at the age of 42, and I met Roger Erickson in 1996, and for the next 3 years, Roger poured into me as much as he could, almost weekly. And but after those 3 years, Roger was still in my life. Roger was still in my life until the day he died. And I think it's just a misunderstanding that if you're going to become a disciple maker, if you say, I want to be a disciple maker, it's a lifestyle. It's something you be prepared to do it until you die.
You know, some people wear little yellow bracelets that say, what would Jesus do? And very often in my life, I come to a situation and I think, what would Roger do? And Roger lived his faith with every breath. I don't know how he did it. A lot of scripture that I have read 1,000 times, only did I understand in watching him live. One in particular, I remember there was a conflict one time, and everyone looked at Roger, and it was as simple as day for him. He just said, boys, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So Roger just lived what he read in the Word very well.
Originally, the disciple-making mission was part of the Men's Ministry Network, and I was on that board. And we had determined, really through the McClellan Foundation, that there wasn't any difference between the guys that are in church and the guys that don't go to church. The divorce rate was the same. You know, they weren't any better employees or better employers. But they found out that if a man had been discipled, that he was a better dad, was a better employee, was a better employer. And so we decided in Chattanooga that we were going to go about making disciples. And then we brought in 2 Timothy 2:2, which is 4 generations of disciples. And so we went into disciple making, which is really what we're told in Matthew 28. It says, go and make disciples. And to me, that says, be a disciple maker. And so that's how we got involved with discipling and disciple making here in Chattanooga. It was kind of out of an outreach from the desire to disciple men so that they were better husbands and they were better dads and they were better employees and better employers. And so it came out of that probably maybe 18 years ago. And from that came the disciple making mission.
I started walking with Christ at 43 years old. And just a year or so after that, I was blessed to meet Roger Erickson. And so I started making disciple makers as an intentional lifestyle about 2011. And within a year or so, we brought that into Walker State Prison, and that's where it intensified for me.
First week that I got to Walker, the men of Disciple Making Mission were actually doing a commissioning of the Pauls, which is where I first had an introduction to Fruit That Won't Spoil and learned about the whole concept of Paul and Timothy, and us modeling that concept as we learned the intangibles of one-on-one discipleship. At the time, I was just getting introduced to Fruit That Won't Spoil through a good meal and a communion.
Well, you know, Walker State Prison, we started in there. The first time that I went in that I can remember was December 25th, 2012. So it was Christmas night, and we were getting ready to commission the first team that had been through the book, Fruit That Won't Spoil by Roger Erickson. So that Sunday night, after we had spent that day, or that actually Christmas night, when we had spent that day with our family, we decided to go down to Walker State and commission that first group. So that was in 2012 on Christmas night, and we went down and commissioned team number 1 there at Walker State Prison. After that, we commissioned for several nights. The next one was on Easter of 2013. We commissioned team number 2 there in the chapel at Walker State Prison. And from there, several years later, we decided we wanted to ask the warden and chaplain if we could have a dinner for all the inmates at Walker State Prison. And so a fellow by the name of Doug White went down and asked the chaplain and warden, and they said that would be the greatest outreach, Christian outreach they had ever seen, because they never really had brought all the inmates together for one event. And we actually had, at the golf tournament that year, we had actually catered it to Carrabba's. And so Carrabba's charged us $4 a head for a great dinner. And so we asked Carrabba's if they would do that, and they said that they would. And so for $4 a head, they brought down that first dinner at Walker State Prison. And so at that dinner, we commissioned, I don't know which team it was. We've commissioned now over 70 teams there at Walker State Prison. We've had 21 dinners down there, and it's just been amazing.
And I did realize that it was something that I wanted to be a part of, but I didn't know how to get involved until Rohan actually introduced me to them through Oakwood Baptist Church.
When I first met Ira Lawrence, was at Walker State Prison. And I seen this young man come in who at times I didn't really seem like he fit in. But something about him that made me understand that he was gonna be somebody.
God took me on a deeper spiritual journey as I was introduced to my big brother, Rohan. And when I say big brother, I don't just mean in age. I mean, he's also a really big guy.
We had grown a bond that I could see that God was putting in play, not me or not him. God was put into play. And here it is 8 years later, after coming into each other's life, that we're still pouring into each other, still standing firm for each other. But when Ira came to Walker State, he looked like he was, like I said, out of place, but at the same time, I knew he was there for a purpose and a reason.
So we looked kind of funny together, you know, sort of like that Baby Bear and the Papa Bear on the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And I'm sure I just told my age there a little bit. But that's just how we used to look, right? I used to call him Dread. Now we just call him Rohan. But that's still my big bro to the end of time.
I knew that if I take my time out to show him something, then I hope it can help him and impact his life. So I introduced him to what we call the chapel, prayer service, morning service, before even fruits was spoiled.
Oakwood Baptist Church was one of those places I never thought I would actually walk into, right? Because Walker already was a different place than Riverbend Correctional Facility. So looking at Oakwood Baptist Church, when I looked into it every Sunday, all I saw was a bunch of old white guys, right? And I didn't expect that it would be my crowd. But Rohan was insisting on us going into this service. So we go into this service looking like Baby Bear and Papa Bear.
And when I introduced to that, it was amazing. I mean, you know, it was amazing. It was good. It was good for him, you know. But when I met Doug White is the type of person that he loves for real, you know. And I thought it was awkward. It didn't matter black, white, or Chinese, but this man loved me for real. And that's the same thing I wanted to give to Ira. I wanted Ira to learn that and feel that.
We had one of the greatest times we ever had in our lives, or at least I had one of the greatest times I ever had in my life anyway, at a worship service, singing old hymnals, which is something that I hadn't done since my childhood. I got introduced to Harold for the first time, you know, got a personal introduction to Harold Thrower. And one of the things he asked me was, can I sing?
I'm Harold Thrower, worship leader at Walker State Prison. We just started our 17th year. Having great success stories every day. Every time we go in, God is blessing. And my story about Ira, wow, been many years ago, but I'm the music director, and we was there on a Sunday night, and we don't sing at Walker State, we sang, just plain and simple. And when you get somewhere between 60 to 80 men, and most of them never sang out loud before, but when the people around you are singing out loud, then you want to sing out too. And the more you sing, the more joy comes to you. And to me, you got to prepare yourself for the message that we get every Sunday night, and we do that through the joy of singing praise to Jesus. And this one Sunday night, I looked over here to my left, and this humongous guy, about 6'4", 6'5", probably go 275, 280, standing up there singing. And right beside him is this real guy named Ira Lawrence that was standing right beside him. Now you can imagine what I saw when I looked over there. And I couldn't hear his voice, but I saw his mouth moving. So I knew he was singing. So after the service that night, I said, they coming by, and I said, introduce myself. And he introduced himself as Ira Lawrence. And I said, I noticed you singing over there. Do you sing solo? And he said, well, I rap. And I said, you rap. And that wasn't a good word with me. I just, I never had really got into rap, because the rap that I had always heard was stuff that I didn't want anybody else to hear. And I said, do you rap for Jesus? And he said, yes. And I said, you need to get your song up. Because the inmates at our place, they are the service. And so we asked them to sing solos throughout our services on Sunday night. And so I asked him to get a song up. And I said, let me know when you're ready. So probably 2 weeks, Ira come back to me, and he said, Harold, I've got a song. And he said, I'm ready to do it. And I said, what about next Sunday night? And he said, okay. So sometimes when guys say that they'll be there next Sunday night, I don't know if they get cold feet. I don't know if they just forget about it or what. But sometimes I have them ready to sing and they don't show up. But Ira showed up. And I said, well, Lord, if he's rapping for you, it's got to be good. So he gets up there and he starts singing. And most of his song was about his mom praying for him, and what he went through, and what his parents were going through, because he was incarcerated, and that's their son in there. And And man, there's bad things going on in prisons. But God had changed Walker State to a faith and character-based prison. And we'd been praying for that for about 5 years. We'd prayed for a revival to come to Walker State. And then it came in the faith and character-based, and they changed the whole prison over to faith and character-based. And so he gets up and he sings this song. And it's about his mom praying for him, his parents praying for him. And just the way God just works things out, it just happened to be Mother's Day. And he was singing a song about his mom, rapping about his mom. And so after it's over, I said, could you write them words out and give them to me? Because there were some things I just didn't understand. So Ira wrote the words out, and there were some definitions of the words that he had put at the bottom telling me what it was so I could understand it better. But that was my story about Brother Ira. Rapping for Jesus changed my whole vision of rap music.
And then I got introduced to Doug, right? And I realized after I got introduced to Doug that the way that they do Fruit That Won't Spoil at Walker was through recruitment.
I was blessed to work with a lot of guys at Walker State Prison, and a lot of those guys really did God's work in reaching out and loving men. And that particular facility, probably like a lot of them, is a revolving door. And a lot of different men come and go. And I really relied on men inside because they could watch men that I couldn't all day, every day. And they would recommend men. And I was recommended to get to know Ira Lawrence. And Ira came in and sat down in Fruit That Won't Spoil. And that's how I first met him, is going through Fruit That Won't Spoil. And the thing that was different about Ira, and the thing that I think brought him to a higher level of disciple making than a lot of men, is it was not a duty. It was obvious to me that he loved Jesus and he loved men through Jesus. Now, I don't think that we as men are really capable of that. It's the Holy Spirit through us. And Luke 11:13 talks about we must ask to be filled with the Spirit. And I believe that's a big difference in Ira that I admire, is that man is hungry for Jesus. It's not something he has to wake up and do. He can't wait to wake up and do it.
They got to know guys through church services, know guys through the program that they had, which was a mentorship program where guys from Disciplemaker Mission would come in every week and meet with guys who didn't actually have family members to meet with them, people who needed some support. And those guys they would mentor and share the word with and take through the process of one-on-one discipleship. And then they would also get to know guys, through other guys that made recommendations, like Rohan recommended me to go through Fruit That Won't Spoil. And that's how I got selected. And the first time that I met Doug, we hit it off instantly, just two men of God that really loved God. And I thought, at the time that I had a deep relationship with Jesus, right? And then I realized that going through Fruit That Won't Spoil, that Jesus had called us to a commandment to make disciples, right? And that took my relationship with him a lot deeper. Just learning about that commandment and learning that all of us as believers should be doing this. And of course, I got to meet all of the other guys with Disciple Making Mission as I ended up going through Fruit That Won't Spoil a couple of times as a co-facilitator for Doug, which gave me the skill set to facilitate it myself and carry on the legacy. Guys like Big Bill Henshaw.
When I retired, I moved up here just to get away from everything I had worked for and with and about. And we had an interim pastor. And the interim pastor was very committed to a different ministry at Walker. You need to do that, you need to do that, they love you, you need to do that. No. Why not? Dude, retired police don't do prison. Police, prison, not the same sentence. So finally he's like, well, have breakfast with me. So he fed me breakfast a couple of times. And then the third time, it was a Saturday morning, he said, well, meet me down at First Pres. I got a meeting I got to be at. Okay. So I met him down there. He didn't show up. I did. And they talked me into doing the paperwork because they said, well, we don't know if you want to do this or not. So just sign the paperwork, and if you want to do it, call me. They went ahead and pushed the paperwork through, and I get an email a couple of days later, hey, you meet your new mentoring partner. Like, yeah, okay, fine. So I went in, sat with the guy, and the second time I went in, he said, we got a problem. And you probably remember him, Steve Marsh. Steve says, we got a problem. What? He said, I can't meet with you anymore. I said, that dude make you mad already? I said, well, I don't understand. He said, well, I got picked up for this class. And he said, it's an invitational only class. If I don't go, they won't invite me again. He said, so I gotta go. He said, we can move to a different night. You can wait 12 weeks till the class is over. We can, do whatever. And I said, well, this group over here says I belong to you. So if that's what you're gonna do for the next 12 weeks, if I'm gonna follow their program, shouldn't I be in that program with you? At least we have something to talk about. He said, well, I don't know. He said, I don't know that anybody free world's ever gone in. I said, ask your folks, and I'll ask my folks, and we'll come back next week. So we did. And there sat Ira Lawrence at the table with Doug White. And the rest is history. And now I can't think of too many places I'd rather be than inside the wire teaching fruit.
So, Bunk 57 Ministries has actually taken its inspiration from disciple-making mission and the training that comes from Fruit That Won't Spoil. Because now we have a program for youth called the Power, Love, Sound Mind Youth Program. And with our Power, Love, Sound Mind Youth Program, which diverts youth from the school to prison pipeline, we take young men that are 12 to 17 years old and we disciple them, right? It's a mentorship program, but the word discipleship is actually interchangeable with mentorship. And what we do is we use Fruit That Won't Spoil to train older men and how to mentor these young men using the intangibles of one-on-one discipleship. In addition to the mentorship, we also have group sessions that we do on every Saturday that focus on the principles of power, love, and sound mind. And instead of just taking young men through it by themselves, we're actually taking the entire families through that Power, Love, Sound Mind program, which is really improving relationships between young men and their mothers and fathers, and helping to fix broken homes, in addition to diverting these young men from the school to prison pipeline.
I am Timothy Brown.
I am Joseph Wallace.
Hello, my name is Moses Wallace.
I am Jacob Wallace.
I'm Deanna Harris. I'm the mother of these 3 young men that sit here. And Mr. Tim was their mentor for quite a while. It still is. He's still a part of their lives. I was very grateful for the time, especially the time that you came into our lives, because it was a crucial time for them to have a very positive male influence, along with all the other gentlemen in Bunk 57, because it was a very much a village feel there. I loved when you would take them to go to pack meals, and just that volunteering, getting away from yourself and thinking about someone else. I love that they were grateful to do it. They were happy to get up and do it. It was not a, hey, you got something to do today, oh, it's a chore. It was, okay, we're going, we'll be ready, we'll be on time. And then coming back, do you know how much we did? We did so many. And then Mr. Tim took us to go get something to eat, and they were happy about that, which I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciated that. And just the feeling of comfort with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And feeling safe to talk to you, to hang with you. That was essential for them, because they were lacking in that area for a while.
Well, first things first, I had to go through a discipleship with Fruit That Won't Spoil. After that, Ira set me up with Moses, Joseph, and Jacob, and we would do things like go over to the food bank and pack food, or we'll go out once a week, game, and make sure we eat lunch. And it was a privilege to be able to work with y'all. We packed boxes on top of boxes, and they did a great job. I was impressed. And we might put in 1 hour. Did we go once a week or twice a week?
I think it was twice.
Twice a week. And just to get them out of the house and do something positive for themselves.
It made me want to be more helpful around with other people, more a better role model, a better leader, as well as being able to support others in my community, my area. Like at school, even my little brother right here, since he just got into high school too, I'm trying to help more people than I can and do it to the best of my ability.
My favorite was probably the horseback riding.
I'm so grateful for the experiences, for all the experiences with Bunk 57. They really got out of their comfort zone in a lot of ways, even with the horseback riding. We had never even seen a horse up close at that point, and it was nice to just get out and do something different. So, and even, when you got up and rapped, I really love that. That's one of my favorite memories with Bunk 57 because you're so reserved, but you stepped up and did that and was fearless in it. And I have to say, I think the whole environment contributed to you feeling comfortable doing that. That was a very proud mom moment for me. I really loved that.
Before I joined Bunk 57, or did stuff with them, I wasn't really a talkative person. I would usually keep to myself most of the time, and I wouldn't describe myself as the kind of person who would be rapping or presenting myself in any significant way. But after joining Bunk 57 Ministries and meeting a whole lot of people like Mr. Tim, Mr. Ira, it helped me step out of my shell, and it helped me be a lot more confident with myself, presenting myself. Even with the rapping thing, 2 years ago, I don't think I would have even thought about doing something like that. But, just rapping Dr. Seuss.
You were great.
Thank you.
And similar to my brother, Bunk 57 really helped me be more open to people, helped me get more friends. I used to, when you first enrolled me into it, I used to think it was just like another chore, another program or something. But when I started actually going to more meetings, meeting new people, learning new things, it started growing on me and became more of a fun activity to do on Sundays. And one of my favorite activities was always when we went to Sunday, to the little basketball rec center with them, and we played basketball at 8 of it. It was fun to do that with all the other boys there, as well as the go-karting thing. We went to that one game place where Frankie's. We went go-karting there. It really helped me get closer to them and be more open to new people that I've met. And it really left a really good impression on me, and even today.
One of the most important things I think I've learned in a group session is caring about other people and caring about yourself, being more thoughtful to others.
The most important thing I learned from Ira was how to present myself in front of new people I meet, and how to be more I learned some social skills and how to be more socially accepting to new people around me. Because when I first went there, he was calm, he was welcoming, he was nice to me and to everyone else there, as well as to all the other mentors as well. So it really helped me be able to, it left a good impression on me to do that to other people as well that may not be comfortable around new people or new social situations. It helped me be able to be the leader and be able to present myself so that they feel comfortable too.
My gratefulness overflows for this program, for the experiences that my sons have had, for having Mr. Tim be a part of our journey through life, especially during that season. I was happy to see my sons grow after taking part in this program and receiving a lot of the leadership that they needed during that time. It made me so happy to watch you opening up and exploring new things and growing closer as brothers as well, because there were many instances where I saw you guys working together and helping each other and looking out for each other. And I think that's a reflection of this program, creating that coming together, that familyhood in our community that's needed, especially around young Black men, and being around older Black leaders and mentors, men, showing you the men you need to become. That's so essential. My gratitude is just limitless there, because I'm, being a mom, can't teach you all of those things, but this program really stepped in the gap there to help with that. And I'm just a witness to seeing it. So I appreciate that. And you have lessons, maybe not even that you can realize at this point, that you'll carry with you. There'll be times when you hear Mr. Tim in your head or hear Ira in your head, and you're like, yeah, I remember he told me this. You'll cherish those. It'll go with you and help you as you go forward.
One of the most valuable lessons that I've taken out of Fruit That Won't Spoil is, at times, roles will reverse. Sometimes the teacher becomes the student, and the student becomes the teacher. So at times, you guys didn't know it, but I knew it. Y'all were teaching me as well. You guys were like sons I never had. And I appreciated each moment. You know, not only did I get to be a mentor, I got to be a father too. And one of the most important things I want y'all to remember is always make good choices. Remember that word I gave you when it comes to Marcus Garvey? Intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. If you make good choices, you'll always do the intelligent thing.
We think it's important to put men of God with these young men in order to give a prime example of what it looks like to be successful in life and to walk a godly lifestyle and just be the type of man that God has called us all to be. And so that's the reason why we use the Fruit That Won't Spoil Intangibles of One-on-One Discipleship model with the Power, Love, Sound Mind program. You also have the Life Restoration Program for returning citizens. The Life Restoration Program is exactly that. It's actually restoring life in only the way that Jesus can do it. So everything we do is faith infused. We take it from a Bible base, and that's something too that I was inspired by disciple-making mission and going through Fruit That Won't Spoil. Fruit That Won't Spoil has just made a great impact on my life. But with God giving me the vision for Bunk 57 Ministries and me being able to take everything that was planted in me and use it, it's also been a very impactful thing for a whole lot of people that probably don't even realize how impactful Fruit That Won't Spoil has been for them.
This is a brother who I see developed into a relationship with Christ right in front of my own eyes that impacted me. And it not only did it impact me, it impacted my life, it impacted the relationship with Fruit That Won't Spoil, because Roger Erickson was like a grandfather to all of us. You know, I watched this man at 80 plus years take his time out to pour into us the love of Christ, the relationship with Christ. So that's something that's always been there in me and Ira's life to this day.
And that's the blessing that's come from the vision that God gave Roger to write the book, start getting to Timothy and meeting with him one man at a time. And now we have a whole legacy of discipleship that has followed him, starting with disciple-making mission and moving on into CBMC and Operation Timothy, and now with Bunk 57 Ministries and our Life Restoration Program and our Power, Love, Sound Mind program for youth. I just wanted to share that discipleship story with you so you can see just how impactful that is. That's really all I got for you today. All right, I hope that this story has really blessed you, and I hope that you realize the commission that Christ has given you as well as a believer to go and make disciples. And all you got to do is two things.
Number one, you got to go to Timothy. And number two, you meet with him.
Find a Timothy and meet with him.
Get a Timothy and start to meet.
Get a Timothy and meet with him.
That's it.